mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
I'm...
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of And I Quote, the live weekly interview series where we bring in a special guest. We ask them a few questions and find out what projects they have coming down the line. I am your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture. Thank you so much for being with us. And I just want to give you a quick program note as to what happened last week. Unfortunately, there was no new episode of And I Quote. Our guest had some health concerns that they had to take care of. So we wish Garth McMurray a healthy and speedy recovery. We wish you well, man. All of us here at Nerd Culture, we're thinking about you. But in the meantime, And I Quote is live and is back this week. And joining us in the studio is Sci-Fi author extraordinaire. She has commented on so many live feeds. Her name is everywhere across all social media platforms, and for good reason. And we'll dive into more reasons about that in just a bit. First of all, I want to introduce her. Cindy Koepp is here with us. Cindy, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. It's a glorious day out here. We finally got temperatures that are out of the negative digits, so that's nice.
Absolutely, absolutely, and congratulations on that. Finally, temperatures are starting to go up. Springtime is just around the corner, and we can all say bye-bye to winter for another, several months until it, weaves its way back into our lives later on during a calendar year, but we'll worry about that later. Now, if you have any questions for our guest, Cindy Koepp, today, please leave them in the live chat in the comment section. Our producers are going to be monitoring that as we go throughout the course of today's show. But let's jump right into this here, Cindy. What were your favorite books or writers growing up?
Well, that's a little tough because I don't recall growing up. But Dr. Seuss has always been a fave. Let's see, Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys Mysteries. I read a ton of those. Encyclopedia Brown. Let's see, what other kinds of fun stuff? Boxcar Children. I remember going through those a few times. And yeah, I think that pretty well covers it.
Excellent. Did you remember getting those catalogs for Scholastic Book Fairs, filling them out, and then going in there and buying all the books, or having your family buy you all the books you could possibly want?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I remember them being a sort of a mail order system where you brought the little catalog home, picked out 2 or 3, your mom gave you some money, and you brought the whole thing back to the teacher, and a couple of months later you ended up with a pile of books on your desk.
Yeah, those are some good times. We miss them so much. Now, when did you specifically decide to become a writer yourself?
Well, my mother has evidence that I started writing speculative fiction when I was in 2nd grade. She's got a short story that I wrote, probably for class, about a talking dog and his pet cactus. I did, a little bit of sporadic writing here and yonder until I hit about junior high, and then I started doing X-Men fanfic just for the yucks and giggles. And then when I got toward high school, I decided, hey, I'm having a grand time with this writing thing. Let's see if I can write one of my own. And so I spun those fan fiction tales off into other directions and eventually started writing a book.
That is truly excellent. Just out of curiosity, favorite X-Men character?
Nightcrawler.
Ah, all right. Teleporter.
Mm-hmm. And I hate traveling, so the idea of being able to go from here to there that fast works for me.
So here's my next question. What is your favorite X-Men movie?
X-Men First Class, which strangely didn't have Nightcrawler in it at all, but I still enjoyed that storyline the most.
Oh, all right. Good pick. Some other fans I know of out there would put First Class amongst the better films and probably their favorite respectively. So that's not a bad pick. For a second there, I thought you were going to give Nightcrawler some love for X2.
Yeah, X2, I liked the story for that one a bit, but not nearly as much as the as First Class, just because of the way the characters were developed and the way that the storyline came about, where he collected all the people that he needed and then trained them up to get them past whatever psychological problems were holding them back.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I gotcha. And I take it there's always a part of your mind that has the X-Men animated series theme song in the back of your mind. Does it keep playing on repeat in the back of your head?
Now and then it'll perseverate and pass its way through for a while, like any other little earworm, and it'll go on, and whatever else I'm listening to at the moment will take over.
All right. Always good to meet a fellow X-Men fan. No problems there. Now, what would you say have been some of the biggest rewards of being a writer?
Getting the weird ideas out of my head and into someone else's.
All right. Gotcha. Anything else you would like to add to that?
I get the opportunity to communicate really hard concepts and complicated things through a storyline that makes them a lot less difficult to swallow. So even though I write science fiction and fantasy, I've dealt with storylines that involve crippling injuries and dealing with disabilities. The prejudices that disabled people sometimes run into, either from people who realize what they're doing, or things that are accidental. They don't realize that they've just excluded somebody because of their disability.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is I admire that. That's very admirable. Now on the flip side of things, what would you say are some of the challenges of being a writer?
Getting the ideas that I have in my head communicated onto the paper in a way that makes sense to somebody who isn't me. I end up using friends of mine as beta readers because they can give me some feedback about that didn't quite make sense, or I see what you're going for, but that could be misunderstood very easily. I'm not sure it would work that way. It's all your characters sound the same, which happened in one book that had a lot of alien characters. All the alien characters ended up sounding like the same person on the first pass, and then on the second pass, I gave everybody different personality quirks, and that divided that up real nicely.
All right. I can certainly understand that. Are there any special memories from you appearing at conventions or other book-related events?
Conventions have been a fairly new thing in my world. I've only been going to them for a couple of years now, and then of course last year was a bust for most of them. But I went to one of the quad cons, and a lady I had seen at a previous event came running up and said, "Ooh, that dragon lady!" And
Oh, that's one way to get recognized. I gotcha. Once Earth reopens and we're able to go to conventions and go to events and things of that nature, do you have any specific writers that you hope to meet somewhere down the line, or perhaps even work with?
I'd like to meet some of the folks that I've met online, like Brian K. Morrison. I met at an IABE event. Some other writers I've met online subsequently, like Nicholas Talkert. I'd like to meet up with him IRL. He's an interesting guy, and we have fencing interests in common, so that could be fun. Some of the others I have met at conventions, Ben Wolf, he and I go to some of the same QuadCon events. QuadCon's a recurring in multiple city kind of convention, and they do still have their events, but they're very, very cautious. There's like much space between everybody, and masks are required, and just they run a pretty good show. I've been to Realm Makers, which is a speculative fiction convention for Christian writers, and met a bunch of those folks, and some of them had been my critique partners, and some of them still are. PenCon, I'm hoping to go to PenCon this year. They haven't announced whether or not they're going to do it this year. RodCon just canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Demicon, which is here in Des Moines, that's going to be an entirely virtual event this year. But yeah, I've got some ideas to want to go to several of them and just catch up to other writers, even if they're not like big name writers that that everyone would recognize.
All right. Well, we hope that does come to fruition for everybody, and you know, specifically for you, that you get a chance to meet all these people when Earth reopens and we're all past this whole situation with the pandemic. We're all vaccinated and all that kind of jazz. Now, what advice would you give to aspiring writers?
Your rough draft is supposed to stink. I've met a lot of new writers who abandon their work because this stinks, it's horrible, no one would ever read it. It's like, yeah, it's your rough draft. It's supposed to be horrible. You can fix horrible in editing. You can't fix a blank page in editing. So, just push on through and finish the draft, even if it sounds terrible to you and anyone else, and you can fix it later.
Absolutely. Who would you say are some of, you talked about some of your favorite writers growing up as a Padawan, but nowadays, who would you say are some of your favorite writers now?
Let's see. Bruce Hale, Jude Watson. Let's see. Janet Kagan, Gordon R. Dixon. I think those would be the ones that you might recognize, or that most people might recognize. Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, I've actually read the English translation of that. It was a 1,200-page book with 100 pages of describing the Paris sewer system. That was very weird, but it was still a very good story. It's just I don't think we needed 100 pages of description of that. But
oh boy. Any other writers you want to give shout outs to?
S.L. Rowland, he's a Gamelit author. I alpha read for him, and so he and I have worked together on several of his books, and I'd like to meet him in person. I've met Brian in person. We met at a convention, so I'd like to see him again. But Otter and Nat, no, I think that about covers it.
No, I gotcha. Hard to miss Brian K. Morris with the fez and the bow tie and the electric personality. Am I right?
Oh yeah. You can spot him in a crowd.
Yeah, he's one of those individuals who may, and I mean this in a positive way. I just want to put that out there. He's one of the few that sticks out like a sore thumb.
He's hard to miss.
He pretty much is, considering how much work he has done up to this point in his so young, looking at you, Brian, so young career. We can't help it. We love you, Brian. We love you. Trust me. So going along with that, on a little bit of a different side of the convention circuit, are there any particular, would you say, artists or actors or actresses that you would perhaps like to meet somewhere down the line at conventions?
I'm really bad at remembering names, especially for things like actors and actresses. So I don't know. I'm fairly much a Doctor Who fan, so meeting some of the Doctor Who crew would be fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, I really don't keep up with a lot of the modern TV or movies. So, and a lot of the more vintage actors or actresses or folks that have already passed. So.
Okay, I can get that. So I take it when it comes to the Doctor Who universe, you're talking about guys like Matt Smith or David Tennant, maybe Peter Capaldi.
Or Chris Eccleston, or go further back into the older Who, and Tom Baker, and some of the folks from the older ones too.
What about River Song? What about Alex Kingston?
Sure, yeah.
All right. I was just curious if you'd like her to come up to you and just give you the old "hello, sweetie." One of those thrown in there, or maybe she doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to give too much away to you in the words of spoilers. Yeah,
That would be fun.
I don't know. That might be something to look forward to somewhere down the line. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe I'm overreaching. I have no idea. But anyhow, if you have any questions for Cindy as we go throughout today's show, please leave them in the live chat or the comment section. Our producers are monitoring that as we go throughout the course of today's broadcast. And here's something else for you here, Cindy. What would you say is your most treasured possession?
Oh, wow. Right now, probably my sewing machine. I'm doing a whole lot of sewing right now. Making costumes and sewing quilts and things of that sort.
Oh, all right. Nice hobby you got going there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can do the sewing by hand, but it just takes a whole lot longer.
Yeah, I've heard one or two stories about that. So there you go. I digress. So how about this one? If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I'm not a fan of crowds. So when I find myself in a situation where there's a whole lot of people, I get very nervous. And I stutter terribly. And so if I could make that stop, that would be fabulous.
All right. That's all good. That's completely understandable. That's fair. So when you're trying to put together, when you're writing, what do you look to for inspiration for your writing, or what kind of helps you within the writing process? Do you listen to certain pieces of music? Do you go back and read, some of your past works or some other people's past works to get the inspiration going? How does it work for you?
It really depends on the story. Two of the books that I've written came from a GURPS space role-playing campaign. And by the time you took the original campaign that we played through and it traveled all the way through until it became a book, there's really not a whole lot in common anymore. But the path that it took, it started with that role-playing game and mutated along the way until it became the book. Two of the other ones actually started off with inspirations from The Lone Ranger. They were originally set in 1865, and as I started to develop the plot line, I was like, yeah, this is really very Lone Ranger. So I moved it up 100 years to get rid of that feel, and and that helped. Two of the books are not related to each other. Started out because I needed to learn how to write a sword fight, and that was right about the time that Phantom Menace came out. And so that became an inspiration for both of those, even though the books are not related. One's fantasy, one's science fiction. But yeah, I had fencing experience before that, so I had a basic idea of how to use a sword, but I was not having much joy writing it. So I watched Phantom Menace, and after I'd seen it a couple of times for the plot line and having a grand time with the story, then it was watching it and watching how the fight choreography happened. And that helped with that. And so, yeah, the inspiration comes from all kinds of crazy places, and sometimes sometimes it drops in for a visit without leaving a forwarding address, and so I'm really not sure where that idea came from, but hey, I'm going to run with it anyway.
Absolutely. And I take it, and this is one of my favorite pieces about Phantom Menace. Did you enjoy that lightsaber duel between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul? Because that's a heck of a scene.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. When I got it on disc, I probably watched just that fight scene several times. Seeing some of the behind-the-scenes stuff for how they did the choreography and just how hard they were going at it was also very interesting.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the whole film. In regards to Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, anyway, and also Duel of the Fates playing in the background from John Williams. That
was amazing music.
Come on. Like, that to me is like the ultimate battle. But I mean, I know all Star Wars movies are about the battle between good and evil, but if you want a straight up definition of good versus evil, look no further than the lightsaber duel between Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul. That is the ultimate good versus evil battle, right? I mean, the guy is red and black. He's got horns on the top of his head. You got Duel of the Fates playing the whole time. That's it. Like, just look up in the dictionary and that's it.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, it was great choreography. Some of it wouldn't work with like in real life with the way that they jumped and contorted around each other. But I mean, within the storyline, with the abilities that they had, that was perfect.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's cool that you have all these different pieces of material to go to for inspiration when it comes to you right now. You brought up something a moment ago about fencing. How long have you been fencing?
I started fencing when let's see, that would have been like 1993-ish. I started in the Society for Creative Anachronism as a light fighter. And so it's sort of simulating rapier combat with foils and épées, and so I learned two different rapier styles from there, one Italian, one Spanish. Well, sort of Spanish. We kind of had to mutate it because we were only working from woodcuts and a really, really bad translation from the Spanish documents. Because I'm not fluent in Spanish by anybody's reckoning. But and it was a 1600s manual, so I mean it's like trying to translate Shakespeare without speaking English, and yeah, so that didn't work real well. But there were a lot of woodcuts, so you would emulate the position in the woodcut, and it's like, okay, so how could you get into this position, and what could you do when you got there? And then I did some damage to my wrist, and was told to stop fencing, so I stopped fencing for a while, and then recently started picking up parry drills and point control drills and stuff like that, using some help from the Historical Fencing Guild to come up with a way that I could rig a foil that I can hang onto it without blowing my wrist apart again.
Oh, okay.
So they were real helpful for that. We actually came up with something, and now I can actually hit a target on purpose again, and so I'm trying to figure out parries now, and that's a bit tricky because I can't move my wrist when I'm holding the foil. So it's going to be a bit strange, but we'll work it out, and there's some very helpful guys in that group.
Oh wow, that is truly amazing. Now, for my sake and for the viewer's sake, is there any footage of you out there on the interwebs of you fencing that we can see your skills at and how you are with the force?
Not fencing. That was when I was doing fencing. That was well before the whole iPhone and smartphone phenomenon. So there's no footage of me actually fencing, and I don't have anyone to play with now because the local SCA group uses a much heavier blade and a different set of rules, and I can't hold on to the dumb thing. So so I can't play with that group, and there are no other local groups that play with foils or other light weapons that I would be able to handle without completely messing myself up. But Nicholas Tockard says that he's planning when the universe opens up again. He's planning on having some fighter practices over in his neck of woods, and if I happen to be in that part of the universe for a show or something, or may take a long weekend and road trip out there and just hang out with he and his wife and the rest of the crowd over in that part of the world, there might become fencing videos of me trying to hold my own against guys who are way bigger than me. There is footage of me learning how to do a Tai Chi fan kata. I'm learning it now. I'm learning it from a video, so it's hard to get feedback. But I've got the first set, and then I recorded that and posted it on the Historical Fencing Guild to get some feedback from the other guys.
Wow. I must say, I am in awe. So you've been fencing for, what is it now, almost 2 decades, if not more, and then you do crocheting, and all these other skills that have been going on during this period of time, and you're writing in between. My goodness gracious, you are a person of many talents.
It keeps me busy. I hate being bored.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah. And being able to switch between different skills. So if I start wearing out one muscle group and tendons are starting to complain, it's like, okay, done with that for now. Switch over to something else that uses a different muscle set and play over with that for a bit, and then switch back and forth and try different things.
All right. That is amazing. That is truly, truly amazing. Now, what would you say is what's left on your bucket list?
Ooh. I would have said we were going to work on a comic book, but we're actually about to finish the first one.
Mm-hmm.
We're converting Animal Eye into a comic book miniseries.
Yeah.
Other fun stuff that's still in the plan. I have some ideas for costumes that I want to make, like make a Kenku costume to so I can cosplay one of the characters in one of my books.
Oh.
I think I know how to do it. I just haven't had, and I've collected most of the materials to make it happen. I just haven't had a chance to start trying to hammer it together. I would like to get good at fencing again. I've been out of practice against other opponents for like 15, 20 years. So I mean, I was never like a hot stick with that, but you know, I'd like to get competent with it again. I've used it a lot in my writing, especially when I write fantasies. But I'd like to build my skills back up in that some more.
All right. And now when it comes to costuming or cosplaying, as it is referred to in the convention world, what are some characters you've either cosplayed before or characters you hope to cosplay when Earth reopens, whether they're part of your book universe or something that's outside of your book universe?
Okay, I have a Petronella Osgood costume that I've worn a couple of times at different events. Katara from Avatar, The Last Airbender. I've got that costume put together. I'm working on a spring fairy right now, the gazillion of flowers everywhere. Let's see, the Kenku, I want to get that one made. I did create a semi-Renaissance costume to cosplay one of the characters in Lines of Succession. I have a steampunk costume that I probably need to redesign now a bit, but the way it's constructed, that shouldn't be too difficult. What else? I have plans for making one of the Yip Yip Martians. I've crocheted a bunch that I sell at cons, but I found a pattern online to be able to make one, make an actual full-size costume.
Oh, nice, very nice. Now, everybody has one or two things, maybe more, you know, because it's different for everybody. Pop culture collectibles that they like to collect. What are certain things what are certain pop culture collectibles that you like to collect? It could be, you know, it could be stamps, it could be Funko Pops, it could be posters, it could be anything of the sort. What do you got?
I collect eagle figurines, and owls and other little birdly things. And I've started making dragons of various sorts. So I've got, you know, I crochet dragons in a few different sizes and different styles, and make ones that sit up on your shoulder. Very small ones that you can hold in your hand. But yeah, I just make all kinds of dragons.
Wow, so. Just out of curiosity, how many times do you listen to the song "Fly Like an Eagle" during the course of a year?
Not nearly often enough.
Okay. All right. Just wondering. But hey, if you're ever looking for some more tunes to pop on, Steve Miller Band isn't too shabby.
Yeah. I like a lot of progressive rock, and then that's fairly close to that area. So.
Well, now you got us curious. What are some of your favorite songs within progressive rock?
Oh, I'm a big Kansas fan.
Kansas.
Oh yes. Kansas and Heart.
Ooh. Okay. I'm liking this. All right. Anything else you want to fire off there?
Yes. Especially the older stuff. Some of Rush's newer material, the older stuff, the Getty gets a little too shrieky for me, but some of the newer stuff that's less so. Yeah, I think that runs the range for progressive rock.
Not bad picks. Now, I'm assuming when you said the word a moment ago, Yes, referring to the band Yes, and not just the word.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite Yes song? Because that's a good. All of these are great picks, but Yes is definitely a good one.
Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Wow. That was actually one of the first songs that came to my mind when I thought of Yes.
All right.
There you go. That's one of the first songs that came to my mind. It's a good song. They're all. There's a number of different songs by different bands that are fantastic, but that is certainly one of the ones that I would put in one of my upper echelons of some of my favorites, and I'm sure you would as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
That is my goodness, man. Okay. I'm gonna have that song running in the back of my head for a few hours after the show today. So thanks, Cindy. I'm sure it's gonna be rolling in the back of some people's minds who are watching out here in the live stream or on the replay on our YouTube channel. So we're trying to give everyone some great music recommendations, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do. But anyhow, we digress. Jeez. Oh my goodness. Oh, you know what? We're going to take a stop over to the comments here because I'm seeing a few people chime in here. Garrett from Hanging with Web Show says, hello, Ryan and Cindy. Hello, Garrett.
Hello.
Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Thanks for being with us. Now, Willow has a question for you. Willow is asking, what kind of costumes do you make?
Well, I made the steampunk. There's actually a picture of that online. The not exactly Renaissance one that's designed up for the character from one of my books. Petronella Osgood, but that one was actually assembled. I just that collected all the pieces for that. I made the industrial length scarf. Not following the official pattern because I couldn't find all the right colors, but it's that kind of thing. Let's see. Katara from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I put that together last fall. Let's see. I think that's all the ones I have made. Oh, I'm putting together Jubilee. I almost have Jubilee's costume made, complete with. I found these around Christmas time. You can find the battery-powered lights.
Oh,
LED,
yes.
battery-powered LEDs. So I'm going to try and rig something so I can attach the battery pack here under my sleeve, and then run the lights up through the glove, so that you get the little sparkly effects.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, we cannot wait to see the finished product of the Jubilee costume, because Jubilee at some point, she doesn't get enough love, man. Seriously. The animated series, she was heavily featured, and then she pops up in the movies for like little to no screen time. And I understand why she not may be in some people's top 5 favorite X-Men, but it doesn't matter. Jubilee is still a member of the team. She still counts. She's got some spunk to her. She's got that trench coat. She's got those shades. And then when people ask her, hey, do you know how much that game costs? Yeah, $0.25. Puts on her shades like a boss. Come on. Let's give Jubilee some love, people.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a fairly straightforward costume, and so I've got most of the pieces put together. I still need to rig the way to attach the battery pack to my wrist, but yeah, that's one of my plans for the spring, is to show up at a con with Jubilee finished.
Well, I am certainly excited about that. Please post as many pictures as you can on your social media channels so we can see the progression of this costume, or just see it when it's actually, when it's fully completed, whenever you feel most comfortable sharing with the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind as we go along. John chimes in with what we were talking about Star Wars earlier. He says, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is my second favorite Star Wars movie. Wow. Man, Phantom Menace is getting some mad love today.
Woohoo!
And there's no shame in that. No shame. Let's see. John chimes in with musical choices. He says, Cindy, my all-time favorite band is Yes. We might, in fact, be psychic twins, John goes on to say.
Yoo-hoo!
And then John continues on to say, the Trevor Rabin era of Yes is my favorite, specifically. Okay. That sounds good. Sounds about right. Goodness gracious, so many things about music. We absolutely love it. Let's see. John chimes in by saying, used to use Owner as my podcast theme song earlier on. Goodness gracious, John.
All right.
Goodness gracious. Whew. Well, Cindy, I got something else for you, and it's simply this. What is something that you like that most people don't?
Well, until Phantom Menace started getting a lot of love, I would have said Phantom Menace and the second trilogy from Star Wars, because usually I tell people that that's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. They go, ew, that one, yeah, that one. Oh, let's see. I like a lot of the vintage TV shows that don't hardly get any love these days. So yeah, things like the $6 Million Man and um, Mission Impossible, Adam 12 and Emergency, and a lot of the older ones. I'm not a big fan of the modern TV shows, but a lot of the older ones I like the storytelling better, even though sometimes it gets really predictable, especially, and they have their patterns and that they tend to follow. But I have a lot of fun with those. So I watch those while I'm doing crafty stuff.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Well, Cindy, we want to take this opportunity to say thank you for being with us. Now, are there any upcoming projects that you can tell us about?
Animal Eye started off life as a novel that published last May. And then in July, the publisher contacted me and said, how do you think it would work as a comic book? Like, well, I tend to write by visualizing in pictures, so pretty well, actually. So I set about with some help from Brian and a couple other comic book folk that I know to figure out how to write a comic book script, how to split the book. It's a 700-page book, so we split it into 6 24-page issues. And so we've been working on that. Our artist is a Filipino gentleman named Raul Cruz, and he just finished the artwork. It was all approved. And we're going to be moving very soon into a crowdfunding campaign to get the artist page and the printing done. And then it'll be released into the world, and we're already working on the second issue. I've got the script written. It hasn't been approved yet because there's a bit of editing to be done on it, but yeah, we're moving right along with that. I also have a short story coming out in a Beauty and Beast anthology called Damsel in This Dress.
I see what you did there.
And so that one's supposed to come out within the next month or so. I have a short story called When the Chameleon Sings coming out in a Doc Saga anthology from Rising Tide Publications. And so we've got a few things in the works, mostly smaller stuff and the comic book.
Well, that is simply extraordinary, and we cannot wait to see all these things come to fruition. Now, Cindy, where can all the good people of the interwebs find you online? And if they want to purchase your books or anything else you have coming down the line, where can they find you on social media?
The easiest place to find me is on my webpage, ckoepp.com. And you'll find links there to pretty much everywhere else that I'm found. I'm on Facebook. I have both my personal profile and my author profile, which would be facebook.com/KOEPPC. Someone already had my name in the other order, so I'd put my first name last. I have a Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Cindy Koepp. I'm on all my books are currently on Amazon. I have 8 novels and 14 anthologies. 3 of the anthologies were done for charity, and those are about to go offline. So if you want to catch either of the Rise and Rescue anthologies, which went to the Australian wildfire rescues, or Warriors Tribute, which went to the Wounded Warrior Project, you'll have to pick those up soon because they're about to be unpublished. But all the rest of my works are there, including 4 teacher resources and a whole passel of short stories and novels.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we want to let everyone know that you can find all the links for Cindy Koepp are in the description of this video. So make sure to check those out. Check out some books. Cindy is an amazing person. She's got so many wonderful things coming down the line. That is going to do it for this episode of And I Quote. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at It's Nerd Culture. Also, check out our YouTube channel. We got new videos being posted each and every week. Tons of nerdy content from And I Quote, talking about DC news, movie news, TV news, comic books, anime, and so much more. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And if you're wondering where some of those questions came from a bit earlier on in regards to, well, if there's one thing you like and others don't, what would it be? Or what is your most treasured possession? Well, I'll tell you where they came from. This episode and every episode of And I Quote is powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or gamify their podcast. Simply shuffle up, ask a question, and let the content roll. Get yours today at poddecks.com. Enter the promo code NERDCULTURE to get 10% off your order. Don't miss it. In the meantime, to everyone out there, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and read some books. Thanks for being with us, everyone.